Hello chess friends and welcome to Azarov's chess channel and welcome to the Tata Steel Rapid and Blitz tournament in 2019 in India. So we had a great day again. Today was the last day of this rapid format. As you know, we have first this 9 rapid games, then tomorrow the blitz games are starting, and then we will have this 18 rounds of the blitz games. But the rapid games are more important in this tournament because the rapid games are evaluated 2 points for the win. On the other hand, the blitz games are only evaluated 1 point for the win, and Magnus Carlsen has now 6 wins and only 3 draws in this very nice tournament. He has now, I think, a big lead because all of these other players have lost some games, and I think he's basically uncatchable in the continuation of the tournament, and I think he'll win this tournament for sure. So, but today I wanted to show you another game, not a game by Magnus Carlsen, because this game that I wanted to show you, I think it's the best, or at least the most attractive game in this tournament, and it's a game played by Levon Aronian against Vidit Gujrathi, and it's really an aggressive Italian game in this 2 knights defense. And this 2 knights defense, it was really one of the first openings that I've learned when I was a kid. When I started to play chess, I didn't know other openings against e4, so I tried this 2 knights variation, which we see in the continuation, but I wasn't familiar with, of course, these types of tactics that both of these players have prepared here in this very nice and aggressive opening. So be prepared. This is really an attacking beauty by Vidit Gujrathi first, but Levon Aronian found really some great defensive moves. Let's see the game. e4 here played by Aronian, and we have here e5 by Vidit. Knight on f3, knight on c6, and now bishop on c4. We have the Italian game, and now knight on f6. And this is now this 2 knights variation. It leaves now white the opportunity to play this move knight on g5, like Levon Aronian played, with immediate attack on this f7 weakness. But now, of course, d5. We have e takes d5, and now most of the variations are continued with the move knight on a5. But I watched now many times these variations, and I always like this move b5 here. And Magnus Carlsen smashed in this opening Arkady Naidic. In the continuation was played bishop on f1, and now after h6 here Naidic played with the white pieces. Knight on e6 was played, and after f takes e6 here d takes c6 was played, and now bishop on c5 by Carlsen. So Carlsen really crushed Arkady Naidic in this opening. I think this is a favorable continuation for black because you have developed many of your pieces. So far you're one move away from castling, but this b5 variation, I think it's really interesting. I really analyzed it many times, and it's really aggressive. So immediately challenge the bishop. If you try bishop takes on b5, then we can of course first take here the pawn, and if black takes white takes the knight on c6, then we are continuing with the bishop here. But this is simply too complicated now to explain you all of these possible lines that can happen here. After e takes d5 here knight on a5 played by Vidit, the most common line, and now bishop on b5 by Aronian. Also still common theory, we have c6, now d takes c6, and now b takes c6. In the continuation, after bishop on d3 or bishop on e2, black's main idea here is to play the move h6 after something like knight on f3. Then black can continue with a very aggressive move e4. Black is a pawn down, but has the initiative, has the attack. After knight on e5 here bishop on d6 is the main line, and now after d4 here we have en passant e takes d3, knight takes on d3, and now queen on c7. This is really the main theory of this 2 knights defense of the Italian game. But in the game, Aronian chose to play here a very interesting line, bishop on d3. But of course, after h6, you cannot play something like knight on h3 or knight on f3. Knight on h3 gives black the opportunity to take immediately the knight, or knight on f3 can be met with very aggressive e4, and you lose some piece. But the idea about the d3 bishop on d3 move is to play the knight on e4, and I think this solves all white's problems. So that's why here in this bishop on d3 variation, here knight on d5 was played by Vidit, really attacking immediately this knight, and now knight on f3. But now the knight is of course not on f6, we cannot play the fork here, that's why bishop on d6 was the continuation. Castling by Aronian, castling also by Vidit. Now rook on e1, attacking this e5 weakness, and now f5, giving away another pawn, sacrificing another pawn just to keep an attack here against Levon Aronian. Of course, if you don't take this pawn on e5, it can be really dangerous. These two connected pawns with this centralized knight, with these two bishops aiming here on the king, I think if you don't take this e5 pawn, it's game over. So that's why knight takes on e5, but this is now a problem for white. White is 2 pawns up, but you see these pieces are all on the starting squares. They are all on the first rank, they're not developed. Meanwhile, black has built a perfect attack here so far. Here queen on f6, attacking the knight of course, and now knight on f3. If you try knight on c4, this is really dangerous for white. It seems like a natural move because you're trading off your bad piece for another piece. After knight takes on c4, it seems that this pinning idea is something special, but it's really a mistake, because in the continuation you can try queen on h6, immediately challenging here white on this h2 pawn. You see you don't have anymore this knight on f3 as the defender of this h2. You have to play something like h3, but now queen on f4 is very dangerous. Also we have possibilities. If I don't know, maybe something like g3, we can push forward, we can push f4, we can push even g5 f4. So many possibilities, and that's all possible because all of these pieces are not developed. Knight on c3 I think is a little bit too slow. Here black is simply faster in this opposite side attack game, so I think this would be a favorable continuation for black. So that's why Levon Aronian decides to go with the knight back to get another defender around the king, because you see here the white king is lacking of defenders. He has only the knight as the defensive piece, and this bishop is aiming really dangerously here on this h2. So in the game g5 was played, also with the main idea to play g4 and then maybe something like queen on h6, again attacking this h2 weakness. And now maybe Levon Aronian makes a mistake, he plays c4. It's not the best continuation here. I think g3 solves, at least for a while, the white's problems. Here after something like g4 you have knight on h4. After something like f4 you can go with your king on h1, hiding a little bit because the knight is a good defender of this g2, also of this f3. We have the possibility to place our bishop on e4, so we don't have this light square problems. It seems so that we have it, but it's really a good position for white's king because we have many defenders, and now we want to create a fast development with our pieces, somehow develop them. So in the game, as said, c4 was played by Aronian, trying to get a tempo on the knight. Knight on f4 was played, and now bishop on f1. But now there is a problem about this bishop on f1 because you don't have anymore a square for the knight. I don't know if this is a part of Levon Aronian's preparation, but now after g4 you're basically losing a piece, so you don't have a square for your knight. You cannot jump on h4, you cannot jump on g5, you cannot jump on e5, so the knight is lost. I don't know, as I said, if this is really a prepared line of Levon Aronian, but you see now the continuation. We have d4 by Aronian, we have of course g takes f3, queen takes on f3, and now knight on a6. If you try queen on d4 immediately, then rook on d1 is very dangerous, so you're getting the queen on the same file like the rook. So this was maybe a line that Levon Aronian saw here. If you try queen on c5, then of course your knight is hanging here on f4. If you try queen on e5, then I think we can take here the the bishop with the rook takes on d6, queen takes on d6, and now bishop on f4. And with this king naked and without dark square bishop, I think this will be a completely winning game for white, because although you're down the exchange, but now this bishop is really dangerous on dark squares. You have to develop the queen, knight on c3, here rook on d1 and similar ideas. So this would be too dangerous around black's king. So that's why in the game knight on e6 was played by Vidit, and now c5. If you try knight takes on d4 to take the pawn, then you have queen on c3, and then the next move you lose a piece. So that's why Vidit went back here with the bishop on c7, and now b4. Very aggressive here by Levon Aronian. Here we have queen takes on d4 attacking the rook, and now queen on c3, trying to trade off the queens. Of course, Vidit thought that, okay, I'm gonna trade off the queens, simplify the position. Now I'm a piece up after knight takes on c3, but there is a problem in this continuation for black. Here the knight has to move here on this very awkward square on b7, and basically this knight is out of game. And as I really hope that Levon Aronian has all of this prepared, but it seems that maybe Vidit went into an unfamiliar line, because you see now we have this 3 connected pawns, and also we have 3 connected pawns here. On the other hand, black has only 4 pawns, so white has 6 pawns, and this knight is out of game. So that's why here Levon Aronian played simply on a pinning idea, bishop on c4. Now what to do? Here in the game, rook on e8 has to be played first, defending the knight, and now bishop on b2. You see how Levon Aronian with the piece sacrificed activated his pieces finally, and now he's the one that's attacking. So here a5 was played. Here a3 doesn't bring you so much, I think, because after a takes b4 we have a takes b4, rook takes on a1, bishop on a1. But now I think black can solve all of the problems with king on f8, getting out of this mess of all of the spin of the slice for bishop. Now basically what we want to do is to maybe go with our knight on g7, trade off the rooks, trade off even more pieces. But that's why here after a5, Levon Aronian played a very interesting idea, b5. So c sacrifices another pawn here on c5, knight takes on c5 was played, but now bishop on a3. Very, very aggressive. You see, again, we're continuing with this very, very annoying pin here on this knight on e6. In the game, knight takes on e4 was played, and here knight takes on e4, f takes e4. But now most of us would take, of course, rook takes on e4, but this would be a mistake, because here we have first c takes b5. You have to decide if you want to stay with your bishop on this diagonal and create this pin, or you can take this pawn. But if you take this pawn, it leaves now black the opportunity to get out of the pin. So this is the problem of this continuation. So if you retreat with the bishop on b3, then b4 is very dangerous. You're closing your darts for bishop, and now maybe we have again possibilities to regroup somehow and defend this knight on e6. So that's why Levon Aronian in this particular moment, he played first the move b6, which is more important to stay with this bishop on c4. After bishop on b6, we have now finally rook takes on e4, staying on the pin. King on f7 had to be played, but now rook on e1. Now this rook comes very actively into the game, and if we take out this knight, then we're continuing, of course, the game with some pawns up, and it will be a completely winning position here for white. So that's why rook on a7. Here Vidit tried to activate somehow another defensive piece, but now king on h1. Here we have a4, and now f4. Very important move, because in the next move we want to play, of course, f5. Here rook on a5, we have g4, bishop on c5. Of course, we have bishop takes on c5, rook takes on c5, and now f5. Maybe the best way here for black is to continue rook takes on c4. After rook takes on c4, maybe knight on c7 can be played, and of course you cannot take the c6 pawn because you get pinned. But now taking first this rook would be the idea. After knight takes on e8, now to take this pawn on a4, and I think this is a favorable endgame for white, because we have here the pass pawn, and in this battle the rook versus two minor pieces, it's very important to secure a pass pawn as white here. And we have also the possibility to create here some pass pawns on the king side, because we have a 3-on-1 situation. So that's why I think this would be a completely winning endgame for white. So that's why I don't know, here Vidit didn't play rook on c4. He tried h5 to somehow crack this pawn structure, but now bishop on e6, very nice move, and now bishop takes on e6. We have f takes e6 with a check, king on e7, and now rook takes on a4. Very important to take out this pawn here in the game. h4 was played, but now rook on f4, we have rook on c2, and now very important, rook on f7, we have king on d6, now rook on d7 attacking the king, and now the king has to escape on a not such a good square, because you want the king to have it in defend here for this potential promotion in the game. Rook on h7 was played by Levon Aronian, and now Aronian's main idea is here to take the rook and create the situation which is called, of course, this two connected pass pawns. If that happens, white has, of course, a completely winning endgame. Here king on d6 was played, we have an e7, rook on d2, now finally rook takes on h4, and now mission accomplished. We have now two connected pass pawns. What we want to do is somehow simplify the position, trade off some rooks, and it will be of course completely winning. Rook takes on e7, here rook on h6, king on d7, now rook takes on e7, king takes on e7, and now rook on c6, here rook takes on a2, and this is now completely winning for white. But let's see the continuation. Vidit to try to somehow save the situation. Rook on c3, we have king on f6, now h4, very important, e5, and now rook on f3, cutting off this f file. Now the king can never participate in the defense. Here rook on a4, now rook on g3, we have king on f4, rook on g2, rook king on f3, and now here h5 played by Aronian, we have king on f4, and now g5, king on f5, and now g6. In this position Vidit resigned. You can maybe try something like rook takes on h4, but now king on g1 you can take, but you cannot catch up with this pawn, and this is completely winning for white. Okay, great game. Let's go back to this moment. I'm not sure if this was all prepared by Levon Aronian. I want to show you this continuation here after this move d4, leaving this knight hanging. We have g takes f3, queen takes an f3, knight on e6 was the continuation. You see, white is a pawn, white is a piece down. I'm not sure if this was all prepared by Levon Aronian, but you see how he played a very aggressive game with his pawns here on the queen side, created some pass pawn situation, created this very important pinning idea on life squares, and great attack then afterwards. So okay, I hope you enjoyed this game. Meanwhile, you can watch my other commented chess games from the series, and you can also watch my best chess games of all time if you want to see the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.